I'm going to create this image in Blender in real time in 15 minutes, and here we go. First, start by deleting the default cube and the light, and then I'm going to use the Urbaniac add-on. It's a really powerful add-on that you can use to build cities really fast. I'm going for this kind of parking space, parking lot kind of thing, and I'm going to position it in one of the side of the image. And then I'm going to pick some other buildings. I'm moving really fast to start, and I'm just going to put different buildings in the background. Going to adjust the buildings in just a minute, but at first it's just adding them to the background. There are several different buildings that you can use, and I'm going for 4, and 2 of them are the same. But we're going to change that in a minute. Now we have 4 buildings in the background. You can see they are not that tall, but this is really clever with the add-on. You can just add floors by punching in numbers or hitting the arrow right there, and then we are building you can say that we're just adding floors to the buildings, and we can make them wider or change them in other fashions. So even though they're kind of like the same, there you can give them individual looks. Yeah, and just getting them into the right position using G to move them. Take the camera and position, make that in the right position at the top of the parking lot. Yeah, and that's kind of the framing that I was going for. We're going to adjust that in later on also, but now we can see that we have a gap between the buildings, and I don't want that, so I moved the building, the gray building in the background, so it kind of like overlap. And also the other building, it's not that important, but you can place it the way you want to. But I just wanted to have a lot of buildings in the background to get this city look. Yeah, and then I'm just going to move on. I'm going to go to the transportation add-on, and I'm going to add different cars to the scene. This is just an Audi that's being added, and then you can snap it to the ground, so it's kind of really fast gets into place. I'm going to put links to all the add-ons that I use in the description, so you can find them afterwards. And then I will add an SUV also to fill up some of the parking spots. So, and I make a little mistake and I select them both. That wasn't what I wanted to. So just going to pick it up, and then you can snap vehicle to ground, and boom, it's down on the ground. And I move it into place. And then again, I forgot to unmark it, and now I pick the other car and I make a mistake. You can see, just a minute. I add the car and it's going to be there, and I have both selected. Oh, not again. Same mistake twice, not good. Anyway, just going to mark the car and move it into position. And it's going to take up the parking spot right there. I'm moving really fast. This is real time, so this video hasn't been sped up or anything. So yes, and then just positioning the car in the right place. And the scene is coming together rather fast. We're just a couple of minutes in, not even about 5 minutes, and I'm going to the asset browser. I'm going to use another add-on. I'm going to use the Apocalyse kit from Big Medium Small. I have bought the bundle version, and you have all these kind of things that you can use, soldiers and people in hazmat suits and so on. And on the right side you can see some images from the website, because it's going to take some time to load in the characters. This I'm going to pick some of the soldiers because I wanted to like have some kind of SWAT team or soldiers raiding this parking lot or whatever it is. And you can see the quality on the right side you are able to achieve with the renders, and it's just spectacular. So I really recommend using this kit, and you have so many options, and you can also choose to buy some of it if you don't want the bundle version. And yeah, they are rigged, some of the characters, so you can use them, place them in a way you find suitable, or that's just up to you. But it's really easy to work with. You can see it's just dragging and dropping. I'm going for the soldiers that are already ready to use. So yeah, and now I'm just going to position the soldiers. It was important that from the camera framing you were able to see his gun, so I have to move him in a little bit of the right direction, and also make sure that the soldiers are touching the ground. Yeah, and we are now like 6 minutes into the scene, but we are already getting to a point that's actually quite good. But we are missing some of the most important parts, and that's lighting, and we'll get into that in a moment. And that's actually something that can take a lot of time. Again, I'm just going to position the camera, and now you can see if I move the camera to one of the sides, then one of the cars disappears in the background, and I find that a little unfortunate, so I'm going to change that in a minute. Yeah, and I'm using a focal length this time around 34mm, but you can adjust that the way you want to. The lower the millimeter count, the more wide angle view you get. I took the door, there was a little door in the building, and I just rotated the door to open it, and now I'm going to move the car so you're better able to see the one in the background. I press G and Y, and then I can slide it on the same axis, so I'm not worried that the wheel will disappear down into the ground. It will stay where I put it before. So that's a good way of working with the items. The same with the soldier, G and Y, and just slide him into a better position. Now we have two cars on the right side, and that was what I wanted. Now we're going to shading, and now we're going to I'm going to adjust the light. Go to object, and we go to world, and this is the world. You can say that the color is in the background. You can go for total black, for instance, because you want it to be a night scene, but I'm going to pick a little bit bluish look. I'm going to go for my for cycles render, and I'm going to use my GPU to make the scene. And it can take a little while, so sometimes you have to be patient for it to load in, because it has to load in all the textures and stuff, so that can take some time. You could also go for an HDR kind of lighting if you wanted to, or do something else, but I'm just going to add some lights myself. Yeah, in here I'm going to say, yeah, that's okay. Get a little bluish tone to the image, and it's not that important because I'm going to add a lot of lights. And in a minute I'm going to do something that's really interesting, and I'm going to go to the Urbaniac add-on again, and then I'm going to hit lights buildings, and boom, you have lights in the building. This is really cool because it speeds up the process so much. You don't have to do it manually or fiddle with all the lighting yourself. You just hit one button and you have lights in some of the windows. That's just so amazing and really easy to work with. So now we can also add a wet surface to the concrete. That's also in the Urbaniac add-on. Just slided it up to full. You can also choose just to have some puddles or something. I just chose to have it all wet. Now I'm adding some point lights, and I'm going for kind of like this bluish look, and we'll go into cycles again, a render view, and course, again, it takes a little while to load. And here we go. Now we have some kind of like, don't know if it's city lighting or whatever it is, but I like this bluish tone. And Alt D, and I'm duplicating the light, moving it around, so we get a little more light in the scene. And you could go for this kind of look, but yeah, I chose to add some more lights and getting in the right position. And this can actually take some time, because I can sometimes I spend way too much time on the lighting, but it's also something that can make or break an image if you're not using light in the right way. So it can be important to spend a little bit of time on it. I'm going to add some orange light also, because if you are in the city, you have these kind of like different lights coming from different sources, and it's a good contrast color to the blue. They like this kind of like cyan blue or this orange colors go well together normally. And then it's just positioning the light in the right place. Yeah, and I'm just duplicating the light, moving it around and putting it down where the cars are coming up from the other level of the parking lot to get some yellow light in the background in the left side. And another light. I'm not finished with adding lights, and this time I'm going to make a light that's going into the door or into the building. So you can see this is pink. This is a little strange color here, so something shady is going on inside this house or part of the parking lot, and that's why this SWAT team or these soldiers are moving into position and getting ready to get into the door, or get through the door. Yes, the car again, making sure that it's in the right position. And the guy here, I'm also moving him so he's not overlapping the cars. I wanted him to be in the framing so that he's not blocking the cars. Now we have this guy on the left. I'm also positioning him in the right place, making him a little bit closer to moving him a little bit closer to the camera, and again G and X, and I can slide him on the same axis. Yeah, and then I thought that I needed a little bit of red in the scene as well, so I spent some time getting that right and kind of mess up some things on the way, but I thought it was going to be a little bit too bluish perhaps, and now I'm making it way too red, so I'm going to turn down the power of this point. And also you have two options. If it's too powerful, you can move it away, or you can turn down the power. That really depends on the scene, but in this case I'm just messing around with the color to get it right. And it's like overtaking the scene, but it could probably work that way, but it was not the thing that I wanted to achieve with it. So I was just going to add some, there were just a little bit of color, red color hitting them. So you can see you have one here, and I move it a little bit away, so just a little bit of red hitting the soldiers. But we also have the blue light in the scene as well. Then I go for camera, and I'm going to make sure that I have one of the guys, one of the soldiers in the focus, and yeah, that's it. Renders in just 1 minute, really fast actually. But this is the scene, and without any adjustments right now. So this is just the clean render in 15 minutes. So that was kind of fast. And you can say that maybe it looks a little bit too clean, and then you have the options to go to compositing, and there you have the options to add some extra things to the scene, to the render already. Going to pick the viewer, so you can see this is the render, but I'm going to add some, you can say, mistakes to the image. We're going to make some lens distortion. That's the thing we're going to use. So yeah, pick the lens distortion, and then in dispersion you can check, you can move the slider, and you can get this effect, kind of like zooming effect, and this is just way too much. But you can see that it's trying to mimic camera. Camera can make these kind of ordinary cameras can make these kind of images, and you can say there is actually some blue and some red in the windows if you look closely, and yeah, and it's kind of like blurring the edges of the image, so it's not looking that clean anymore. You have to be really careful with it, because you can really murder your render with it. So pick go easy on it, and yeah, I go for a really low count, so we just get a little bit on the edge. You can see the windows perhaps in left side and right side, kind of like a little bit blurred now. And I pick another lens distortion. I go for projector, and it kind of like affects the whole image, not only the edges, so can be a little hard to see, but actually it gets a little bit, you get a little bit blue and red, you can say chromatic aberration, I think it's called in English. I'm not really sure, but you get some kind of mistake that some lenses on cameras would actually do. And then you can go to you can make some kind of color corrections. I prefer to do that in Photoshop, but here you also have the options to change the color balance of the scene, and you can make it more bluish or greenish or whatever color you really like. But yeah, so it's just messing around with the colors to get the look that I would like. So that's kind of like a way to create a fast, create an action scene in a fast way. And solely using Blender, but I'm going to throw it into Photoshop. Here you can see this is just a little time lapse of what to do if you wanted to use it in Photoshop as well, but it's just the same render and just messing around with the colors like you were able to do but in Blender, but maybe you have a little bit better control. I don't know, I've just been using Photoshop for many years, so I find it in some instances easier to use. And then you get this image, get a more bluish look, but you were probably able to achieve the same results in Blender. Yeah, and here you see this is the final image after being in Photoshop. And I'm going to show you also how this was the render from Blender, so it got a little more bluish, you can say, in the final image after I throw it into Photoshop. So this is it. Yeah, and it took only these 15 minutes to create the scene, but you can spend a lot of time afterwards adding effects if you wanted to, and that's really up to you. But I like using the add-ons to get results really fast, and this is just a way that I like to work. But you can also model everything yourself if you wanted to, but it sometimes takes a lot of time. And for me, it's an easy way to create a scene. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.